Okay guys, welcome to today's video. I'm going to be taking you through my riding journey from when I started at the age of 7 all the way up to where we are now, and stay tuned to the very end because I have a very exciting announcement to do with Bronte. So I started riding at a riding school at the age of 7, and then when I was 9 I was very lucky, I got my first pony. So this is Mary Legs. She's a strawberry roan Connemara. Unfortunately she did have sweet itch, but she was absolutely the love of my life. I was obsessed with her, and it was just so sad that I grew out of her so quickly. So luckily we sold Mary Legs back to the yard, so she was still in the yard with someone else, but I used to beg to ride her all the time. As you can see, I'm way too big. And that brings us on to my next pony, or my first horse I should say. This is Kana. Kana was born and bred at the yard, so there's a picture of baby Kana. I got Kana when she was 3 and I was 11. Kana is an Irish sport horse. She's a dark dun mare, and again, obsessed with her. I had her for 6 years, so like I grew up with Kana. We were inseparable. I loved her so much. She taught me so much. We did inter-schools, show jumping, hunter trials. We did a little bit of SJI. Pony club. We did a couple of summers in the pony club camp, and she was a little bit moody, a tricky one. She really taught me how to ride, but she just had a heart of gold, and I loved her so much. This is one of our rounds. I'm presuming we're doing a 90 centimeters class here. We have a couple of stops in it, but make it all the way around. This is in Mullingar Equestrian Centre. I have no idea what age I was in this. Probably 14, 15. I was just having so much fun.
Ciara, well done. Well done.
So I did a lot of my first on Kana, first one day event, like unaffiliated, first time doing any kind of hunter trials, and she loved to jump off. We loved to jump off together. We were great. She would jump from a standstill for me. She was an angel. This is one of the last rounds that I ever did with Kana. So towards the end of my teenage years, kind of when I was about 17, we made the decision to sell Kana. There was actually a lovely girl in the yard we got to sell her to, so she was staying in the yard as well. So I still get to see both Kana and Merrylegs on the regular, which is amazing. And I decided that I wanted to step up. I was thinking about eventing one day, jumping maybe a little bit bigger. I kind of maxed out what I could have done with Kana. So I got Bronte on the 6th of September 2018 at the Goresbridge Horse Sports Sales. I went down with a friend of mine and then my instructor. He actually saw her being ridden while I was registering, and I only saw her walk around the auction ring, so I actually hadn't seen her do anything really. So I put all my faith into him and we put up our paddle and we got her. So Bronte was 5 when we brought her home. She is an Irish sports horse out of Castleforbes Lord Lancer and May Mystery. Castleforbes Lord Lancer is an Oldenburg, so she has a bit of warm blood in her, and you can kind of get the vibe off her every now and then. She gets a bit hot-headed, but she was just super. I was blown away with the power that I had underneath me all of a sudden. So we just spent the first couple of months a little trip to the beach, confidence giving, doing lots of show jumping at home, bringing her to our local cross country training, and she just blew me away with how kind of brave she was and just so powerful. So you're watching the very raw footage of one of our first ever show jumping rounds, possibly the first ever show jumping round we did. In our yard, they would do it on a Sunday every now and then, so we got to join in with that, and it was just a great opportunity to get her moving around a course. So this is the next week. As you can see, everything's very awkward and sticky, and we're figuring it out. So after a few months of just training her at home, in the December we took her to our first show. We went to combined training in Clossery, another venue that's close enough to us, which is so handy. We have a fantastic wibbly wobbly dressage test. I hadn't a clue. I think I went in with like a martingale on and like all her boots, like tendon boots over eachers. So I remember there was some kind person who helped us out and told us what we should be doing. I think this is so cute. Look how like wobbly she is coming up the long side here. Just a little baby. And again, our show jumping round, very wibbly wobbly, but she was very honest. She told me exactly what she was thinking, so I was able to ride her on, and I was just so impressed with how she handled herself. We got over everything, no stops, no run-outs, so I was really pleased with this being our first outing. So also in December, we decided to bring her to the Kilmessan Chase, which is nearby to us. A friend of mine was going, and we had a ball there as well. Super confidence giving. That brings us in to January 2019, New Year. We're starting with some more combined training. She was flying again. A lot of it's very kind of wobbly, very babyish. So she's just turned 6. We're just kind of building up our muscle, getting her more balanced, but we're having so much fun. So at this point, as we're getting to know each other more, I was kind of really noticing how careful she was with her feet, but how she kind of hated touching the poles. So I think we maybe have one pole here, but she's really careful. She doesn't like hitting it, and it almost kind of throws her off a little bit when she has a little knock. So we're slowly getting to know each other here, figuring it all out. Again, she's flying around. I'm so impressed with her, like all the colours, fillers, everything. She's just really taking them in her stride. So I kind of had it in my head that I'd love to get out of eventing, so we decided to do some more cross-country schooling. A group of us from the yard went to Charlie O'Neill's and I got a lead. Luckily there's a lovely girl in the yard and she was giving me a lead over some of the fences. I was just so impressed with the power. I wasn't used to this at all. My first 2 ponies were very like, slam on the brakes, no, we're not doing this. So she was just so willing, and it was just a great feeling to be in this place. Then in March we went to our first hunter trials and we did the open pairs. I got a lead off another lovely girl from the yard I was at, and again she just really impressed me. Then in April another lovely girl from the yard led me around in open pairs again, this time in Aher, and we flew around. So I decided that I would try a novice singles on my own for the next one. So we went down to Anna Harvey. I actually ended up having my first fall on this course. There's a load of birds flew up out of a tree. Bronte just stopped in front of a fence and I landed on my feet. So I just quickly jumped back up and finished the round. So I remember we did manage to get over everything, if not the first time, the second time. So that brings us to June of 2019. Ciara was actually taking a break from riding at this point, but this is her coming up to meet Bronte for the first time and she had a little spin. So it was so nice for them to be introduced. And in July, we're just doing some more show jumping. I believe we're doing the 90s at this point. As I said, she really impressed me with how careful she was jumping. So it was, we were just kind of getting our rhythm and trying to get a little bit less wobbly through the course. That brings us back then to our local arena for a bit more cross-country schooling before we head out to something very exciting in August of this year. So I had signed up to do my first one-day event. Woohoo! So we were doing the EI90. This was in Tattersalls. I think it was like the 18th of August 2019. Now guys, this dressage test, it has to be the worst dressage test I've ever done in my whole entire life. I just think it's so funny looking back on it now. I remember when I finished and I did my halt and salute or whatever, gave her a pat, and I just walked past the judge and I was like, sorry about that. I did like a little shrug, and I think written on the sheet was just not your day at the bottom. So we got a whopping 45.5 for this dressage test. Looking back on it, I really spent no time on dressage at all. It was all jumping cross country, trying to get her feeling confident. So everything is still rather wobbly. She's super distracted, just calling out the whole time for a friend, any friend. So our dressage was at like 8:30 or something, and then we were jumping at like 12, and then our cross country was at 5. So this was really a new experience for her. So as I said, she was quite distracted this day. We were kind of having trouble with the whole waiting around thing. But I remember being very shocked. We had 2 poles down. I'd never had more than 1 pole down with her in a show jumping round. So we kind of put that down to it just being a whole new environment. Also, it was a new environment for me, my first ever one-day event. So taking into account her personality, the way I know her now, she's very sensitive to what the rider's feeling on her back. So I'd imagine she was kind of feeling my nerves as well. But just so proud of her. Looking back, I'm getting so nostalgic, guys. I'm so proud of her. And as if I wasn't proud enough, we actually went clear cross country. We had 16 time faults, but clear over all the fences. I could have cried. I'd never gone clear in a cross country round before, like with any of my ponies ever. So this was like a big moment for me. So my little 6-year-old finished 24th. Yay! So towards the end of 2019, we were feeling really good, so we stepped up to a 1 meter with our show jumping. I believe this is just an unregistered at Glossary, which we did for a couple of weeks, so I'm not sure if this is the first 1 meter round that we did, but it's certainly one of the early ones. And then just finishing off the Hunter trial season, we did the open singles at Tattersalls. So in November 2019, I believe this is when we started competing with SJI, Show Jumping Ireland. So we'd done a couple of meters, and then we decided to step it up to the meter 5. So this is our first ever meter 5 round. And again, she's just so game. She loves to jump, and I love this like powerful feeling. At the end of 2019, I had a fall while doing some training at home and I ended up with a concussion. I'd never had a concussion from horse riding before. I had had a couple, I think maybe two at this point, from basketball. But I got into the car, my dad was collecting me and I seemed a bit off. He was like, "Are you okay?" And then I was like, "I don't know, I can't really remember what happened." And he was like, "What do you mean, what happened?" So I had fallen off. I'd answered all the like concussion questions, like what day of the week it was. I answered all them correctly. Got back up, finished the lesson, put Bronte away and rugged her up and everything, looked after her. But all that was missing from my memory. Like a huge chunk of time was missing. So that was my first concussion from horse riding and it was a bit scary. So after the concussion, I think I got out in January of 2020, maybe once or twice. We did a couple of show jumping rounds and then February 2020, if you all recall, COVID hit, so it was lockdown. We were so lucky that we were able to go up to the horses, so there was just like lots of hacking, grooming, everything was like so slow paced. It was gorgeous being able to spend so much time with the horses, especially I got Bronte when I was in my final year of school, so I was doing my leaving cert and then just like working full time for a little bit, so it was so nice having all this time to kind of leisurely hang around with the horses. So as you can see, we were lucky enough that when the restrictions kind of eased a bit, we got out to some local arenas for some training and stuff, and then we got to go to Colossery for an unaffiliated one-day event. We just did the meter class, I believe it was, and it was just lots of kind of slow-paced, lots of training time, really nice. Then in March 2021, SJI came back after lockdown and all the restrictions and everything had allowed it to do so, and we stepped it up to a meter 10. So this round that you're watching at the moment, this is actually our first ever clear round meter 10. This is one of the proudest moments of my whole riding career. Oh my gosh, I'm almost getting emotional. Okay, I'm gonna hold it together, guys, but I just couldn't believe that I had got this little horse as like a wobbly little 5-year-old from the sales in Kilkenny, and obviously with the help of like friends and instructors and the yard that I had her at, but it was just me riding and it was all the work I had put in and it was really paying off. This was actually a league in Colossery that had been happening over a number of weeks, and we ended up winning the meter 10 class of this league. So again, I just couldn't believe it. Like, I'm not from a horsey background. I used to beg my parents to let me do riding lessons at a local riding school, and I was able to get my own horse and bring her up to this level. Then we got a little bit cocky, I think, and decided to try our hand at the RDS amateur qualifiers. So this year, because it was like the COVID year, you didn't have to do the normal number of amateur classes before going out to it. So we thought, you know, we've done so well in this, let's give it a try. And we were definitely overfaced. The atmosphere she wasn't really used to, I wasn't really used to. As I said, she's a very sensitive horse. She doesn't like knocking pulls. She can really feel when I'm off on her back. And there we go. It doesn't exactly go to plan, but we have a great photo from it. So I went to 3 of the 4 qualifiers that year. The first one, I jumped the first few fences, retired from, as you saw from the first photo. Not the most flattering. The second one was in Tipperary, where we had that gorgeous fall. And then the third qualifier we went to was in Galway. So these were like long trips in the box she wasn't used to. These were big atmospheres. These were me not feeling confident on her back. So again, here we jumped the first couple of fences. We have maybe a little sticky jump to that one. Get over number 2, and we're coming around to number 3, and spoiler alert guys, she does a little bit of a stop at number 3. So I decided just, okay, let's go back to the first fence. We're just gonna jump number 1 again and then call it a day. We gotten over a few of them more confidently. At that point I was thinking, okay, I've kind of overfaced her with the jumping. Let's take a break from it, take a step back, and we're gonna do the concussion chase again. I thought it'd be really confidence building. She's just in with the herd, lots of cantering. I wasn't gonna focus on the jumps, just gonna go around them. And just as we had set off, we were waiting to go through a gate or kind of around a ditch or something, and Bronte was very excited. She did like a bit of a rear up and just lost her footing underneath her and ended up falling back on herself. I fell backwards then as well, and I hit my head at the back, and this was my 2nd concussion from her. I think my 4th concussion overall in my life. This one, I remember as soon as I sat up, I was like in the cartoons, I was kind of seeing stars. So I knew that it wasn't quite right. I wasn't going to try and hop back up. And some wonderful lady looked after me and got me back to the village where my dad was. I remember just like getting to my dad and being like so surprised. I was like, how did you find me? We're in the middle of the countryside. And he was like, you rang me. I obviously had my phone in my pocket and I rang him. Again, a huge chunk of time was missing from my memory. And this concussion actually took me a really long time to get over. I was kind of struggling with the effects of this for a good number of months. So as you can imagine guys, my confidence was in the bin at this point. So we just did some very simple like cross-country 100 trials. I got some lead off people around the yard again, which was so helpful. I'm so grateful to them. And just trying to slowly get us back working as a team. I was so nervous of her and just, like I said, had no confidence in my abilities at all. After doing all that, we decided to sign up for another one of the one-day events, the unaffiliated ones in Colossery. I signed up for the 80 class. This really wasn't a great day for us. You can see we start off, our show jumping is really sticky, and then we have a refusal at the 3rd fence. At this point, I'm just like, I'm a terrible rider. She's such a great horse. If she had a better rider, none of this would be happening. All of these kind of thoughts going through my head. So we just decided to do the first fence again and leave it at that. I didn't run cross country. Luckily though, I was riding another horse, kind of a young horse that's around the yard, and I did my dressage, show jumping, cross country on her. It wasn't all perfect, but it was such a confidence boost for me to be able to do it, especially on a young horse as well. Then the next while we're just doing some jumping at home. Here, as you can see, we're just trying to slowly build up our confidence again, working as a team and trying to get, we had like such a lovely relaxation at home, and trying to get that when we go out again, which obviously is massively coming from me and how I'm making her feel. And in November, this work kind of paid off. We got to do a 90 centimeters combined training, and we actually came 4th. We had a lovely clear round that day. 2023 was a bit of an up and down year for us. We started the year on a really positive note. We came 5th in Cavan, jumping 90 centimeters. A very friendly 90 centimeters, but still 90 centimeters, confidently working as a team. Headed out to do some more 100 trials in March of 2023. July, we decided to step back down to 80 centimeters just to keep it nice and friendly. We were obviously on a bit of a confidence low here, so lots of trotting in the round, just keeping it all together.
In September of 2023, we went to do another, believe it or not, another unaffiliated one-day event in Colossary. This time, a bit of a shocker, we actually entered in the 70 centimeters class. My process of thinking at this point was I'd rather be feeling like I was doing something that was too small and a bit silly than feeling nervous and scared about, oh, I don't know if this is going to go right. And I'm so glad that I did do this in hindsight. So I always kind of say it to, like, if anyone else was asking me for advice, like, you always want to leave yourself feeling like you want to do more rather than like you've done too much and you've scared yourself. And it's the same for the horse. So I'm so glad, looking back, that we did go down this mall and it was just a lovely day out. And major progress from the last time we did one of these one-day events. We actually ran the cross country this day. So like I was just saying, I wanted to go into it feeling like it was small, and I wasn't even feeling that for all of the jumps. Some of them I was a bit nervous for, and we do have a couple of stops. It's always at the ones that I build up in my head. But it was a learning day, and it was a day that we finished all 3 phases. So this round is actually the last SJI round that I have done to date. We finished off 2023 with a 90 centimeters. Yes guys, we're back up to the 90 centimeters in JAG. We have 2 pulls down, I believe, 8 faults. It's just, as I said, I'm still not feeling like 100% about everything, and I don't really allow her to get into enough of a rhythm if I was to kind of reflect on it now. But we did it, I pushed myself to do it, and we came home safe. Me and Bronte came home safe, and that's all that matters. So our last outing of 2023 brought us to a cross-country clinic with Ciara and Liath in Greenogue Equestrian. This is my first time in Greenogue. I thought it was absolutely stunning. I loved it. Again, just a lot of, like, we had some questions. It took us a while to answer them, get over them. Here we have a little stop here, something I wasn't expecting her to stop at. But we learned so much this day. How to kind of ride things a little bit better, especially she can get a bit stroppy and start doing this bouncing thing, which you would have seen in our arena eventing and also in the cross-country training vlogs that we've put up recently. You can see her little bouncy tantrums. But we do this little course and I really enjoyed the session. Ciara and Liath made everything really simple and kind of undramatic, which I tend to make things dramatic in my head, so that was fantastic. So that brings us kind of up to date as to where we are today. If you want to see what we've been up to so far in 2024, check out our recent vlogs on our channel. But I'm trying to make the most of this year and get out and do as much as I can, because something's gonna happen this year that's gonna be a big change, and it means I won't be able to be riding Bronte anymore. And the news is Bronte is gonna have a baby. So we're gonna have a little foal coming in 2025 and I can't wait. We do have a stallion picked out, so make sure you guys stay tuned because I will be documenting the whole process of getting her into foal and her journey throughout her pregnancy.